welcome back to yet another edition of the Coach's Corner. My name is Walter Beede, affectionately known as Baseball Lifer 11 on Twitter. Here on YouTube, it's Baseball Lifer. And our sole purpose here is to answer parents as well as student athletes questions as it pertains to youth, travel, baseball, college recruiting, any and all things related to baseball. You might be asking, what is a baseball lifer? Baseball lifer is simply someone that's been involved with the game for well over 50 years, and any and every conceivable, possibility with regard to baseball. Player, coach, instructor, but most importantly, as a dad. And that's kind of where we come from here on this channel, is trying to answer questions for parents from across the country. Today, we have Mr. McNabb from Greater Indianapolis, Indiana. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, Walter. Thanks for having me. And I just want to lead with, I was blessed, had an opportunity to read The Process, a book that Walter put out, and I recommend it to any of the baseball dads I hang out with, because we're kind of a community. And one of the big things I got from that book is how accessible Walter was to me, to a dad. It's like, hey, email me, text me, Twitter. And I've had communication several times with Walter, and he instantly, within minutes, responded. And it wasn't just a blanket response. It was, hey, here's what I think, here's my opinion, and then asked me questions. So we actually continued a dialogue. So he was connected, invested, and really interested in what I had to say as a dad. So I just want to throw that out there and start with.
Well, I appreciate that. And honestly, I believe, that type of correspondence is really a simple way of giving back and passing the baton of baseball, and anything that I can do to help. As obviously, as you know, I like to ask a little bit about yourself and your student athlete, and then kind of give back a little bit, which is the point of the channel and the point of us kind of getting these questions together for other parents to find their way to. So, what question haven't I answered yet that you have for me today? How's that?
Well, my big one is my son is a sophomore in high school. He's 15 years old, and he's been around enough, and we have been approached by several recruiting agencies, and they're asking for big bucks. I don't know. Can I say say what recruiting agencies have contacted me?
It's up to you. That's whoever they are. They're the ones contacting you.
All right, right on. So NCSA, that's one, and NRA have contacted me, emailed me, texted me, called me. They got our phone number off of some entry that we've done for whatever tournament. And my question is, because they're asking big money, like $3,000-$4,000. And like, hey, what are your thoughts on those? Are they beneficial? Are they going to help, dad in Indianapolis with getting his son seen, getting him recruited to college?
The short answer to that is no. The long answer to that is that generally those companies have been around. They're kind of like mini franchises where you are solicited by a mailing list that has been either purchased, or you've signed your way into a tournament that they've sponsored in some way, shape, or form. And essentially what they're doing is creating a video that you can do. They're emailing a list that you're capable of finding, whether it's through the Baseball Blue Book or a variety of other sources. You can Google, you can, do a search and find out where and how to contact college coaches via email, or in some cases, cell phone or phones. So generally, no. For the most part, I always encourage families to kind of create a plan of attack by casting a safety net. So let's say your son gets to be a junior next year, a little bit more aware and in tune of where he wants to attend college, what type of major he'd likely pursue. And then from there, you start to contact those coaches and programs directly. And then I always encourage campus visits to make sure that the campus fits your son. He has a feel and a vibe for the geographics of the campus, logistics from not only his house, his home, but also cafeteria to the dorm, the athletic facilities and fields to the dorm. And what is the student body like? What is the culture of the student body like? Those recruiting services tend to be very generic, and they have a template that they follow. There's nothing really unique or individual in most cases. And so what I always try to encourage student athletes is take control of your process, be in charge of where your destination might lead for those 4 years. Because again, as I've alluded to a few times, it's really a 40-year decision. It's not really a baseball decision. Yes, you're going to hopefully partake in the sport during your 4 years, but you can make your own video. I've kind of outlined that in a couple of the books. You can also open a dialogue with college coaches in a number of different ways directly as a student athlete. But I find that more college coaches now are looking for student athletes to slow their process down, gain some familiarity with who they are as a college, first and foremost, and then what they offer as a baseball program. And then be prepared as a family and as a student athlete to share with the college coach how you are going to integrate, fit, and help that program. Once you are able to do those things, most college coaches are going to be more inclined to reach back out to you and contact you when the time is appropriate with regard to recruiting.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot of information. That's a lot of information. Wow, that's great stuff.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I think a lot of the business of travel baseball, which includes now, there are companies that make videos for student athletes. There are companies that open up dialogues, as far as recruiting is concerned. But at the end of the day, most college coaches, athletes charge because it's not the parents that are going to college. It's not the parents that are going to be playing for the coach. And they also want to see a student athlete that's not only engaged, but accountable, and kind of has an idea of the direction that they're looking to take. Because after all, they're the ones that are going to spend those 4 years in that city, in that town with that coach. And most importantly, integrating into that college community, into that student body. So that's generally the best way to attack that.
Okay. Wow, that's great. I mean, that'll definitely give us some direction with my son, because it always seems like somebody's wanting money, and they're just finding the right person who kind of can help him. Like he has a pitching coach here in the city who talks a lot about what you talk about. About how to get recruited, how to identify those 5 or 6 colleges that he's interested in, and which kind of leads me to my next question. So he gets a lot of emails about showcases, colleges, coaches A, B, C, and D are going to be there for $200. You can come and go through this process. Do you find value in those? Because it's like a showcase where multiple universities, instead of going to, like, let's say a close university to us is Miami University, Ohio. They're doing their own camp, right? It's their own camp run by their coaches. But there's some here in the city of Indianapolis that Evansville, just area college coaches are going to be there. Is it a benefit to go to something like that?
Well, here's the thing. I always encourage going directly to the college camps of interest. Showcases, for the most part, do not allow what I call intangible skill sets to be seen. For instance, if your son is someone that is a hard worker, he might not be fleet of foot, but he has really good instincts and takes good angles. Those types of things get lost in the showcase environment. Plus, it tends to just be exactly what it means. You're showing off your skill set. So if there's not a plus tool, meaning there's not elite arm strength or elite foot speed or elite power at the plate, showcases tend to kind of cover up the masses. And, the one guy that might showcase himself really well on that particular day may not be a good in-game player, may not have good instincts. So again, going back to recent conversations, I can tell you that college coaches across the board at all levels and divisions have kind of pulled away from the showcase environment. They really want to see the lights on, the scoreboard on. They want to see how kids are competing. And they want to see, more importantly, kids failing. And so generally those camps that a college may put on, that might be a 2-day type camp or a full day camp, it gives the coaching staff the ability to see a student athlete in their entirety, their work ethic, their steadfastness, meaning they may make an error, but they come back and they attack on the next ground ball. And so that shows the ability to kind of put things behind you and compete on the next play. So not a big showcase person. I understand that they've been around for a number of years, so they've kind of become commonplace. But I can assure you that they're kind of being put on the back shelves by the vast majority of college programs from across the country. And I would rather have you, or your son more importantly, participate at a college camp where there's going to be several colleges in attendance. It's going to be instruction based in nature. It's also going to allow coaches to interact directly with your son, as opposed to showcases where everybody sits behind a screen and just kind of, goes through the paces, so to speak.
Right. Okay.
So, and the best thing about that is, if you ever have a question as it pertains to any of that stuff, you just reach out to me. I'll give you an understanding. But when you're ready, when you're really ready, what you want to do is you want to look at all of the various college levels, meaning start at the NAIA, go to the NCAA, and maybe even a post-grad opportunity, and kind of start to look around and give yourself some options. A lot of student athletes and families kind of target that Division I, the big bright-eyed bushy tail. And I'll always say to them, Emory, Ohio Wesleyan, Marietta, Worcester, Salisbury, Ithaca, Washington, and Jefferson. There's a lot of really great NCAA Division III programs that inevitably, especially in light of today's transfer portal, are finding a lot of great student athletes. And they're really tremendous academic institutions. But if you look at all levels and you kind of look at a school that may be of interest in each one, it's not out of the realm of possibility to commit or kind of apply to those schools first and kind of see who's, interested. And that way you give yourself a lot of options. You cast a wide net as opposed to that narrow kind of focus of Division I.
Right on.
So anything that I can ever do for you, feel free to reach out, as always. And I appreciate you taking the time this morning. I know it's early and you have a school day to start here. And so I appreciate your time. And again, I appreciate everything that how we interact with regard to Twitter. Continue to do so. And I look forward to our conversations continuing in the future.
All right. Right on, Walter. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. And for everybody here that joined us today, if you like what we had to say today or the questions that were asked, give us a like, send us a comment. I personally will answer each and every question that gets asked. And also, I ask you to hit a home run and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow and helps people find their way to the channel.